Hi everybody, welcome back to Real Science with Chris Neal. I wanted to take some time and make a video. This is a video I've been wanting to make for a long time. And the title of this one is Why They Will Always Get HRT Wrong. Who's the they? Well, the they is everybody else. Everybody else that's out there that try and put HRT therapy into one restrictive box as far as how all patients should be treated. That goes for your primary care doctors, your endocrinologists, urologists, functional medicine doctors, other HRT clinics. And I say they collectively. I'm not talking about every single person out there. I'm sure there are some that are out there that are good. I know there are some out there that are good, but by and large, if you have been in this industry for a while, or if you're even as a patient, and you've been a patient of HRT and you've gone through and discussed your therapy with other clinics, you know this to be true. And there's a reason. There is a very clear reason as why they get it wrong and why they're going to continue to get it wrong. And I just wanted to take a little bit of time to talk about that today on my channel, Real Science with Chris Neal. Thanks for joining me. So it all starts, in my opinion, with the definition of why we do what we do and the structure behind our thought process, which is what all of this is about. In my opinion, this is what I call performance medicine, which is distinctively different than standard Western medicine. I guess it fits in the category of alternative medicine because the thought process is alternative. It's very different. So performance medicine is defined as it's a subspecialty focused on the optimization of physical, mental well-being through medical treatment. That's what we do. It also involves therapy. It involves coaching, discussing you as a patient your entire life towards your goals and improving your quality of life. So that is framed around the backbone of individualization of care. If you don't have individualization of care, then none of that stuff really works very well. So it's kind of like this. I have two examples that I want to give you. So my wife that I love very much, let me put that there. My wife, she is what I call a modifier. Like, we pretty much can't go to any restaurant without her modifying something, which is fine. That's just her, so we'll go to drive-through McDonald's. I'm sorry. Yes, I know I preach health and fitness, but sometimes we go to McDonald's. So I order a number 2. Okay. So she orders her sandwich, but she has to have extra lettuce, no mayo, add this, add that, and it's a modification. What do you think the chances are that at McDonald's they're going to get her modifications for her individual preference correct? Not very good. They're not really batting 1,000. But we expect that. Now, if we go to like an upscale restaurant, we are foodies. We love going to restaurants and checking out different types of places and different restaurants and things. Now, when we go to an upscale restaurant, if she makes a modification, the chances of them getting it right at a specialty restaurant is much higher. They get it exactly the way she wants it. But she is the patient, she's the client, she's the recipient, or whatever you want to call it. So that's her prerogative. That's what she would like, so that's what this is all about. It wouldn't make sense, or, well, I guess it would, depending on what your role is. Like, if your job is to run an upscale restaurant, then you make accommodations for people that want to modify and make sure it gets done right. If you run a fast food chain, then what do? You put out statistics and research studies. Okay, what are the kind of sandwiches that people typically like? Let's take the top 5 that statistically work the best for the vast majority of people and learn how to just do that well. and everybody else, well, they can just suck it. And are basically, because we're here to serve, not an individual, but we're here to serve the highest percentage of people, which is fine. That's their role. That's why McDonald's is who they are, and that's why the upscale restaurants are who they are. It just depends on which one you want to go to. So we make the choice. Another example is kind of like, this is more of an example for my car guys out there, my car people. So it's kind of like if you were to take your car to Jiffy Lube. That's a little bit like kind of going to a primary care doctor out there. Sorry, primary care doctors. I love my primary care doctors out there. I have a lot of them. They're very good friends of mine. But in regards to hormone replacement and performance medicine in particular, it is not in their wheelhouse. I'm here to tell you, and anybody else would agree with that. So it's like taking your car to Jiffy Lube and saying, hey, mechanic, can you help my car handle better? It's a little bit older, it needs a little bit of a tune-up and everything. I'd love to be able to really open it up on the highway and feel that speed and feel that handling like it used to have. Can you help me do that? To your mechanic at Jiffy Lube. Your mechanic is going to look at you and give you this kind of response. Hey, look, buddy, you got 10 minutes for an oil change. That's it. Your car is fine. You're fine. You're going to get an oil change. Your car runs perfectly well. How many times have we heard that from a doctor? Okay, this is, doctor, I don't feel good. I don't feel at my best. I'm not dying. I'm not sick, but, I'm kind of feeling tired. I'm kind of feeling run down. My sex drive isn't there. I'm just kind of foggy, during the day. I don't have that same drive, that same concentration that I used to have, when I was younger. Like, what can I do? What can I do to help myself feel better, to handle better, to have that performance, to be able to lose weight, to be able to maintain my muscle mass, to have that energy that I used to have? What can I do? And your doctor looks at you and says, hey, look, you've already had your 2.5-minute appointment. You're fine. I looked at your labs. Nothing is in bold. You look great. You're fine. You're not out of the range. So there's nothing I can do for you. Insurance isn't going to pay for that. You don't need that. You're just getting older. You just need to deal with it. Eat more salad. Walk 10 minutes a day. And that's what they give you. And how like relevant is that? How much can you get out of that? And what you really have to do, instead of asking those questions to a mechanic at Jiffy Lube, you need to take your car to a performance specialty tuner that will take the time to sit down with you and look at the situation and look at you in the eyes, look at you and talk to you and speak to you and take the time to go through what you want, what your optimal level is for you and for your life. And that's completely different. And the difference is it all depends on who you want to go to. Are you going to take your car to Jiffy Lube or take your car to a performance tuner for those kind of issues? So I don't want to down the primary care doctors too much, because that they do have a role, and their role is to help to keep us generally healthy and safe and protect and as far as helping you if you're really sick, and helping to prevent certain types of illnesses. They're okay, they're good at that, and we need to have primary care doctors. But when it comes to the question of how do I improve myself, how do I actually get better, perform better, have a higher quality of life, who do you go see? Who do you go to? So, and it's not necessarily their fault. It's the structure and the framework that their education and the culture of that job is surrounded around. Just like Jiffy Lube, just like McDonald's. So, like I said before, the framework of that is all based on something that I call individualization of care. So that cannot be highlighted enough. The individualization of care is everything. It is everything. And the reason why is because if I'm coming to someone that I want to help improve my life, I would hope that they would take a moment to understand what my life is all about, what is important to me, because it's going to be very, very different than what's important to someone else. So, and that's what we're after. Someone that understands the way to utilize medical treatments towards that end, which is very, very important. So it's really the backbone of performance medicine. It really is. So in order to describe this a little bit further, I have to talk about standard Western medicine and the reason why they will always get HRT wrong. And there are a lot of HRT clinics out there that try and run their clinics, their HRT, I'll use the term performance clinic, loosely, but they'll try and run their HRT clinic like a standard medical clinic, a standard Western medical clinic, and not like an alternative clinic. And the reason why that's a problem is because the individualization isn't there. So that's my point. So standard Western medicine utilizes something. It's not that it utilizes a form of understanding, a form of diagnosing, and a form of treatment, a thought process called evidence-based medicine, and that's the pathway or the thought process that they use as a framework behind everything that they do. We get taught this in medical school, that everything needs to be evidence-based medicine, evidence-based. We get that hammered into our head. So, evidence-based medicine, it's a well-organized framework of research studies that are out there that are in place, and researchers and universities that are out there in place. Their job is to research certain questions to try and come up with an answer as to what is the standard of treatment for this issue, so that you can go to this evidence-based medicine database and search and say, okay, well, my patient has high blood pressure. What is the best evidence-based therapy for that? And there are certain types of medical issues that are very generic like that you can do that with, and so that but when it comes to performance medicine, it kind of blows it completely out of the water. Like you can't, and the reason why is because there's no way to put individualization into a research study. Because a research study is weighted, or it's determined how valuable a research study is. One of the aspects that they look at is, well, how many patients did you look at in your study? So what does the cohort look like? What is the how many people are you actually looking at? So if they take a research study of 5,000 people, they're using a lot of different forms of statistical analysis to determine, out of all 5,000 people, this medication worked the best for high blood pressure. And we're talking a certain percentage of men, a certain percentage of women, of all different age groups or whatever, and and out of a statistical significance, this one seemed to be the best for the highest percentage of people. Okay, so that's the one we're going to pick. And problem with the reason why that doesn't fit with performance medicine is because there's no individualization there. They're trying to put everyone in the same box and say, okay, well, 83.7% of the time this is going to work, so we're going to do it for you. And it's like, well, what if I'm in that other percentage? What do I do that? Well, I don't know. There's not much to do. Then we have to move to this or that or whatever. And then, but there's no, when are we going to take time to actually understand what the goals and the quality of life is for the individual, which is what this is all about. My goal is not to get someone's blood pressure less than 130 systolic. Like that's a very cold and easy thing to do. What's hard is, how do I get someone to feel better? Like that's a subjective thing. So until Western medicine comes around to being able to put more importance and more weight into the subjective part, which is what a patient says, how they feel, and puts more value into that, and as far as their diagnosis process and the framework behind individualization of care, they're never going to get HRT right. They just won't. Because when it comes to performance medicine with hormone replacements, hormones in particular, like everybody's very, very, very different. So the way that I treat a 65-year-old guy that is who is working out hard. They're strength training 6 days a week. They're driven, they're motivated, they're healthy, their diet is intact, and their goal is to maintain their energy level, get rid of fatigue, recover better. The way I treat them is going to be very different than the way I treat, a 35-year-old mom, that's just trying to lose an extra 20 pounds, that's tired, that is having issues because she just had a baby, now, so that completely, they're two completely different cohorts of people. Now, in a research study, maybe they would have been lumped together. Not in the case of like testosterone, but other hormones, maybe they would have been lumped together and said, okay, well, yeah, let's put them in a cohort together and see what happens. It doesn't work that way. Even if it wasn't male and female, and if it was just two males, like, if I have one guy that is that has a history of like being, say, like a former powerlifter, and another guy is just, he's a cyclist, and they're the same age. Okay, they're both athletic in their own way. Their life goals, their individualization of care is completely different. So I have to be able to have the understanding and the know-how to modify things, because they're more than just a number on a piece of paper, and I preach that all the time. Everyone is very different. But as far as evidence-based medicine is concerned, everyone can be attributed to a number on a piece of paper. And that's why they will never ever get it right. So when you come across internet doctors or self-proclaimed internet doctors, or even regular medical clinics, or even HRT clinics, where you get the sensation, you get the feeling that everyone is getting the same thing. They're not listening to how I feel. They're not listening to what I want in my quality of life. They just want to give me whatever they give me. Or you hear people online. This is even more pervasive. There are a lot of people that are out there online that like to make recommendations, or like to make quasi like medical recommendations about things, and they say, basically some format of this: I know what works best for me, and therefore it's going to work great for everyone, and if you don't do it my way, then you're wrong, or you're stupid, or something like that. That's just absolutely insane, and it doesn't line up with performance medicine and individualization of care, because everyone is not the same. If there's anyone, and one of the best examples of that is a consistent debate over many things, but like one of the big debates in the hormone replacement therapy world is with the use of estrogen blockers. As a great example of to hammer home this point. So everyone is very, very, very different. So if I go into the idea that either no one needs to even look or care about their estrogen, or to the point where no one has to even manage their estrogen or take anything for their estrogen or what have you, or everyone needs to be on some form of estrogen blocker. If I have either one of these philosophies, then they're both wrong. You should run. You should run from me if I have either one of these ideologies. Like because just by definition, I have completely lost individualization of care, because I'm not treating every person as an individual, with that framework, and therefore it's no longer performance medicine. I just want to treat you like a rotating door and just give everybody the same thing, So there are a lot of tools out there. There are a lot of therapies out there. There are a lot of different ways to do things, and just as many of those as there are out there, people are very, very different. And I've been doing this thing. I've been working with patients for a long time. I work with a lot of different types of patients, men and women, and with all different types of hormones, including testosterone therapy. But the through so I work with all different types of patients, and at Viking Alternative Medicine, and with all of my staff, and we work with all of our staff to be sure to maintain individualization of care, because that is so critical. It's absolutely paramount that we treat everyone as an individual, because their goals are going to be different. Therefore, our treatment toward reaching their benchmark is going to be different. My benchmark for my patients is not a specific number. Oh, I want you to be between 600 and 800 or whatever. No, it's not that. It's my benchmark for my patients is that they feel awesome. That might sound simple, but that's a lot harder to do than to just get your number to a certain number. Get your level, your hormone level, whatever your hormone level might be, to get it to a certain number. That's simple and shallow and kind of cold. Getting you to feel great and getting you to subjectively feel like you're at your best, that's hard. That takes time and effort, and that's what that's value, and that's what I believe we work towards, and we will consistently strive towards, and that is a journey sometimes. I'll be the first to say, like, it's hard to nail that on the head, but it sounds simple, but it really isn't. It really isn't. And to keep people safe and healthy, so our benchmark is a lot tighter. One of the other tools that we use in standard Western medicine, and we adopt one of these tools from standard Western medicine, are lab reports. We work with a lot of labs and a lot of different lab companies, in order to test our blood levels for different hormones and everything. But still, we have to at least appreciate the fact that these lab values are based in a framework that's based on evidence-based medicine. How do you think they came up with these reference numbers anyway? Or a better question, in what decade or century did they come up with these reference ranges? And why are they so different? If I go to Quest Diagnostics versus LabCorp, why are the reference ranges completely different for something? Because a lot of times, I want to say all of the time, these reference ranges are not based on, you as an individual feeling awesome or feeling at your best or feeling optimized. It's not. These are reference ranges that are based on you playing in bounds, and that's basically it. It's, literally like if you're a football player and you go walk up to your coach and you say, "Hey coach, how do I run faster? How do I catch the ball better? How do I juke my opponents? How do I break through tackles? I really want to be a better player. I'm not playing at my maximum potential. What can I do?" And your coach looks at you and says, "Well, you're playing in bounds, so you're fine." It gives you nothing at all. It gives you nothing to work with. And that's literally how I view a lot of the reference ranges, when it comes to the lab values. Not all lab values. Some lab values do need to be very strict for your own health, but understanding that on a deeper level is what's critical. And if you don't take the time and energy to try and understand those things towards the individualization of your care, then you're not doing anybody any favors. If I just glance down the lab values and I just point out the ones that are bold, it doesn't, or even worse, if I say, because I hear this a lot. My doctor told me that if I'm on TRT, then I do not have to ever look at this hormone, or this hormone. I just don't have to check. And it doesn't work that way. It just does not work that way. It's ridiculous. And not everyone is cut out for performance medicine. It definitely is a subspecialty. It is a performance niche therapy, that not everyone can do and not everyone should be doing. I hate to say it that way, but it's true, and if you're not prepared with the tools at hand and the organizational structure and the understanding to be able to handle performance medicine, then you should probably look towards doing something different, or at least recommending someone that you do trust with that. So maybe this is a little bit of a shameless plug, so I hate to be that way, but it's true. Because I hear a lot of frustration from my patients that have been through various multiple clinics, and the frustration that they have with how they're being treated, and it's important. They tell me how they feel, and they tell me what's going on and what they've been through, and I just felt like I had to take some time to put that out there, to say, hey, I hear you. There is a reason why the system of standard medicine is the way it is, and rather than just being frustrated with the system of non-individualization of care, find a good performance-based clinic, that can help you. Here at Viking Alternative Medicine, we really work hard towards that, and I really work hard towards that, of taking care of my patients and understanding where they're coming from, and where their life goals are and their individualization. Everybody's very, very different, not only mentally, but physically. How their body handles hormones, how their body handles these types of medications, drastically different. Anyone that believes that everybody can take the same thing has not been doing this long enough to see. So I'm here for you. You can reach out to us anytime at vikingalternative.com. You can reach out to me here on YouTube. Thank you very much for listening, and stay healthy.